imagine. A weapon so powerful, so massive, it could obliterate entire fortresses with a single shot. A cannon weighing over 1,300 tons, capable of firing shells that could tear through 6 meters of reinforced concrete. This wasn't some fantasy. It was real, and it was called Heavy Gustav, the largest and most destructive weapon ever created by mankind. But what was meant to be Hitler's ultimate war machine ended up as one of the biggest failures in history. So what went wrong? Why did this massive superweapon fail so miserably? Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of Heavy Gustav. Stay with us, because you won't believe what happened. This is the largest weapon the world has ever seen. Just look at the size of it. This is the size of a tank. That's a human. And this is the size of its ammo. The Nazis called it Heavy Gustav. 1,350 tons of steel, a 32-meter barrel, and a 47-kilometer shooting range. It took 4,000 workers just to set it up, and another 1,000 soldiers to operate it. We dug deep into the archives to bring you the full story of this monstrosity, a megalomaniac weapon commissioned by none other than Adolf Hitler himself. But unlike many of his delusional projects, this one was actually brought to life. Heavy Gustav was deployed in battle. By 1937, Hitler was neck-deep in preparations for his war. But one thing was keeping him up at night: the Maginot Line. A massive array of heavily armed and fortified concrete strongholds stretching across the French-German border. To break through this solid line of defense, he needed something big, something new. So he ordered Krupp Steel Works, the weapons forge of the German Reich, to build the largest cannon the world had ever seen. And he wanted it ready by 1940. The project was top secret. Under no circumstances could the plans fall into enemy hands. Internal documents referred to the cannon only as the Gustav device. The Nazis loved giving their weapons cute names, like the KL Mortar or Big Bertha. But by the time the cannon was finally ready, France had already fallen. Hitler didn't even need it anymore. Fast forward to 1942, and the Nazis were still advancing deep into Soviet territory. But there was one city they just couldn't break: Sevastopol. This was one of the strongest fortresses in the world, protected by 100,000 Soviet soldiers, bunkers buried 30 meters underground, and concrete walls up to 5 meters thick. This was the perfect time to unleash Heavy Gustav. But there was a problem. How do you transport a 1,350-ton superweapon into battle? They had to disassemble the entire cannon, load it onto 5 separate trains, with over 100 train cars, and drag it all the way through Poland. Once it arrived, they had to find the perfect spot to fire it from. And guess what? It took them 3 days just to set it up. 5,000 men were working around the clock, laying down 1,200 meters of railway tracks, assembling the cannon, guarding it, camouflaging it, and even setting up a special smoke troop to create artificial smoke screens to hide it from enemy planes. Finally, after 3 days, Heavy Gustav was ready to fire. This is Fort Stalin, a heavily fortified stronghold of the Soviet army. For days, Soviet soldiers had endured relentless shelling, but they remained steadfast. They were sheltered behind massive concrete walls, believing nothing could break through. But at 4:30 p.m., they heard a massive explosion. A 7-ton armor-piercing shell was now hurtling toward them, fired from the largest cannon in history. Boom! And then, nothing. The shell completely missed its target. The Germans needed another hour just to reload. Another shot, missed. Another, missed. And another, missed again. Here's the actual battle report from that day. Every shot was way off target. By the end of day 4, they had only 5 shells left. They fired them all on day 5, and not a single one hit its mark. Then, they were out of ammo. The aftermath. So, after all that effort, what did Heavy Gustav actually accomplish? Almost nothing. It fired a total of 48 shots, burning through 360 tons of ammunition, and out of those, the official reports claimed only 3 hits. But even that is debatable. The only confirmed hit was an underground ammo depot. and that was probably just luck. The cannon was supposed to be an unstoppable war machine, but it turned out to be a massive failure. Even before the battle, Nazi officials knew this thing would be a disaster. The cannon's accuracy was terrible. The barrel wore out too fast, and each shot required an insane amount of reloading time. By the time Sevastopol fell, Heavy Gustav had nothing to do with it. Did anyone have the guts to tell Hitler the truth? Or did he just refuse to accept that his mega weapon was useless? We may never know. But in the end, he personally ordered the cannon destroyed. And that was the story of Heavy Gustav.